What is up, everybody? Welcome into the Act First show where we make sales simple for online coaches. My name is Chad. I'm the host of the show and the CEO of the Act First Closing Academy. We got a great episode for you guys today. We're going to talk about why your sales suck, reps, not steps. So about 10 years ago, I decided to become, it was 10 years ago. In 2015, I decided I wanted to be an online fitness coach. And for the first couple of years, about 2.5 years, I really struggled. I sold a couple people, but honestly, I sold programs that were worth like 20 bucks a month, 30 bucks a month. And it was not, you can't make a full-time living on that. It was not my full-time living until about 3 years in. I worked a bunch of side jobs. I worked at a pizza shop. I was an in-person trainer. I was a server at a barbecue restaurant. I worked all these different side jobs to make my dream a reality. And 3 years in, I finally did make my dream a reality. And the single thing that made my dream a reality was what we are talking about today. The committal to getting good at sales, but more specifically through repetition. The reason that I wasn't selling clients the first 2.5 years, and the reason it took me 3 years to become full-time, is because when it came to sales, I cared more about the process over actually putting in the work and the reps to get good at it. And what I mean by that, and this is why I think a lot of people, a lot of coaches struggle with sales, is they are overly consumed by the process like I was. I was overly consumed by the process. I'm making sure, the script was perfect and having every word and focusing on every detailed word that the script had to say, focusing on the funnel, right? Making sure that the pre-call process was good, making sure that my presentation looked good, making sure that my DM script was good, right? I was focused on the steps. I was focused on the steps of getting somebody to close. But what I was missing and what I was not doing is putting in the reps. I was not putting in the reps to actually get good at sales. And the reason that that's important is because it doesn't really matter what you say. Now, of course, to some degree it does, right? You can't just get on a sales call and say, fuck you, and expect that you are going to close them. To some degree, it does matter what you are going to say. But if you have a framework, if you have a script, it's not about reading that script word for word, right? And this should really click for you because it clicked for me. If you were handed Jerry Seinfeld's comedy script, right? If Jerry Seinfeld said, this is my best comedy show, this was the script for the comedy show, here you go up on stage and read the script. It wouldn't land like Jerry Seinfeld, right? Nobody would probably laugh. You would read the jokes, but nobody would laugh. Why? Because it doesn't matter as much what you say as it matters on how you say it. And the only way to get confident, the only way for what you say to be on autopilot, for the only way for you to perfect the tonality of how to say the thing is through repetition. What am I talking about when I'm saying repetition? I'm talking about role play, right? I'm talking about role play with yourself, sitting here and literally role playing out scenarios. I'm talking about role playing with somebody else, right? Role playing objections, role playing the discovery script, role playing the presentation. I'm talking about putting in the work. I'm talking about repetition, right? Think about your craft. You are a coach in something. You are either a fitness coach, a relationship coach, a personal development coach, a mindset coach. You got good at the craft before you started coaching it. How did you get good at the craft? I'm going to use the gym as an example. Did you read books about how to do push-ups? Did you read books about how to do sit-ups? Did you read books about how to do a bench press? I'm sure you did, right? I'm sure you did do learning through books, but the way that you actually got good at it, the way that you actually built the muscle is by putting in the repetition. And guess what? The same thing is true for sales. So when I figured that out, right? When I figured out that, hey, I actually need to do the repetitions. I can't read about doing push-ups and expect to be good at push-ups. I can't read about doing sales and focus on all the steps and expect to actually sell people. I actually need to put in the work. I need to put in the repetition. I started going ham on it, right? I actually have this one story. It's pretty crazy. So Caitlin was in Ohio and I was in Connecticut. She was in Ohio for I think it was for the Arnold. I think it was for the Arnold. And there was a massive snowstorm and she locked her key inside of the car. And she called me and said, hey, I left a spare key at my house in Connecticut. Can you drive it from Connecticut to Ohio? So it was an 8-hour drive through a snowstorm. And I think this snowstorm was so bad it had like some sort of category. It was either like a category 1 or a category 2 snowstorm. And I had an Audi. All right, so my Audi, it was all-wheel drive, but I wasn't driving like this pickup truck. I wasn't driving like this Jeep Wrangler or this Bronco, right? I was driving an Audi, right? And I drove this Audi through this blizzard for 8 hours to give the spare key to my now wife so that she can take her car and drive it home. And the reason I tell you this story is during that 8-hour drive, instead of listening to music, instead of listening to the weather report, which I probably should have done, because it would have said, son, you need to get the hell off the road. I had the Closer's Playbook. I'm forgetting the exact name of it, but I believe it was the Closer's Playbook. It was by Grant Cardone, and I had the audio version, and I had it in the coffee cup hold in my car. And what I would do is he would say, all right, here's the objection, I need to think about it. Here's how I would handle the objection, I need to think about it. And he, because I had the audio version, he would say it out loud on his word track on how he would handle that objection. And there was 100 objections that he would go through in this audiobook. So I would listen to how he would handle the objection. I would pause the video and then I would repeat it out loud. I would role play it with myself out loud. And I did that for the 8-hour drive up over and over and over and over again. And I didn't become a master at sales after that 8-hour drive, right? But this was the start of me understanding that if I was going to get great at sales, I needed to practice repetition. Repetition, repetition, repetition. And that's exactly what I did. And that's exactly why I have done over 8 figures in sales in online coaching. Not because I had the perfect framework, not because I had the perfect step-by-step process laid out, but because I put in the work repetition after repetition after repetition to the point where it became autonomous, to the point where I didn't have to think, to the point where it came out naturally, to the point where the person on the other side of the call can feel what I'm saying, opposed to hear what I'm saying. Because the reason why you laugh at Jerry Seinfeld, the reason why you laugh at your favorite comedian is because you feel what they say. And the reason you could feel what they say is because they practice that bit. They practice that comedic show thousands and thousands and thousands of times, to the point where when they get on stage, they're not thinking about shit. All they do is press the play button in their mind, the words come out how they practiced, and the audience laughs. And it's the same thing with your sales calls. You should be able to pop on a sales call, hit the play button in your brain, and the words come out and it is felt on the other side. Not heard, but felt on the other side. And the only way to do that is through repetition. Okay? Now, the next question pops up. Chad, I understand. I've been focused way too much on the steps and not enough on the reps. But how exactly do I role play? How exactly do I role play sales? Do I just stare at a wall and just say the words word for word? No, I'm gonna go over my process, okay? It's 5 steps. It's very, very simple, or I have 5 points rather, but the process is very, very simple, and let's get into it, okay? So step number 1, you could decide if you wanna do role play by yourself. You could decide if you wanna do role play with a partner, or literally the video that I posted before this. So if you go to my list of videos, there's this one and the one right before this. There is an AI called Character.ai. I have no affiliation to it other than I use it to practice myself. And you can role play with Character.ai. It has voice communication and you can role play back and forth. All right, so the first step is to choose who you're gonna role play with. You can role play with yourself, which honestly is gonna be the least effective. It's easy because it doesn't require you to need anybody, but there's no back and forth banter, so it doesn't simulate the real thing very much. Okay, you can role play with a human, which is my preferred, right? Because it's going to actually simulate, you're not selling AI robots, right? So although character AI is great, you're never actually selling an AI robot, right? You're selling a real human. So it's better to actually role play, in my opinion, with a real human because it simulates the real thing, right? Or you can choose to do it with character.ai, all right? My nose is freaking itchy. Sorry about that. So make that choice, okay? Like I told you, the most effective is going to be the human. Now, the second thing that you need to do is you need to pick what you are going to role play, all right? You don't have to just role play objections. You can role play literally singular questions in the discovery portion of the call. You can role play the whole entire discovery section. You can role play the presentation, right? But here's my recommendation. Right, I would stay away from role-playing entire sections, right? Role-playing the entire discovery. Why? Because you're probably only ever gonna get one rep. If a discovery is 15 to 20 minutes, that means you're only getting one repetition for every question if you do the whole entire discovery. My preference is if you have a certain question that you're really struggling with, you pick that question and you role-play it multiple times over. Okay, why? Because now you're going to get more repetitions opposed to if you just do the discovery, you're only going to get one repetition of each question. All right, so pick the thing you are going to role play. Is it a singular objection? Is it a singular question, right? Is it a section, right? Pick the thing that you are going to role play. Okay, now we are looking for 3 perfect reps. Okay, 3 perfect reps. If it takes you 10 total reps to get 3 perfect reps, then it takes you 10 total reps to get 3 perfect reps. If it takes you 3 reps to get 3 perfect reps, then it takes you 3 reps to get 3 perfect reps, okay? But we're looking for 3 perfect reps of the thing that you are going to role play. For the first repetition, you can have the script up, okay? So if you have a laptop or if you have the script printed, you can have the script up and you could use the script for the first repetition, okay? The first repetition is a warm-up, right? It's a warm-up. Now, the second repetition and the third repetition. So for the second perfect repetition and for the third perfect repetition, there is no script. You are not allowed to glance at the script. You are not allowed to look at the script. You have to go off of your intuition and your remembrance of the script. So if you need to read the script ahead of time, right? So if you're going into rep 2 and prior to rep 2, you need 60 seconds to review the script, that's fine. But once that 60 seconds is up, you put the script away and now you're going off of your memory. All right, we're memorizing these frameworks, right? Okay, so for rep 2 and rep 3, no script. 3 perfect reps is what we're looking for. Now, here is my, so that's literally it, right? So that's how you do this, right? You pick the person you're gonna role play with, the partner, character AI, or yourself. You pick the one thing that you're gonna role play and you go back and forth until you get 3 perfect reps. All right, a perfect rep means you don't fumble. A perfect rep means you don't have to, oh shit, I forgot, let me look at the script. A perfect rep is a perfect rep. You know what a perfect rep is, okay? Now, how long should this take? This should take anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes, all right? You don't need to spend hours and hours and hours every single day training. I don't think that that is a worthwhile use of your time. There's actually studies out there, scientific studies that show that shorter times, shorter, more intense times of training hit home more than longer bouts of less intense training. So if you hit it hard for 30 minutes, short, sweet, intense, right? You get more out of that than longer, less intense sessions of training sales. And studying for anything, that is true as well. All right, so my belief and my motto and my theory of training for sales is frequency over time, meaning you should be spending 10 to 30 minutes 5 times a week, right? So Monday through Friday, opposed to, oh, I'll train on Tuesday, Thursday, and I'll train for an hour and a half. No, that's not what we're gonna do. We're gonna train 5 times a week, 10 to 30 minutes per session. All right, y'all, that is it. Recapping everything that we talked about today. Okay, the reason that you suck at sales is because you're focused on the steps over the reps. Okay, you don't need the perfect process to have a high close rate. but you do need to know, and you do need to know how to do the push-ups and not just read about the push-ups, to the point where it's instinctual, to the point where it's autonomous, to the point where it's felt, not just heard. Just like the Jerry Seinfeld analogy that we gave, okay? Now, how we're gonna role play, pick who you're role playing with, yourself, a partner, or Character.ai. Pick what you are role playing. Stay in the game until you have 3 perfect reps, right? And that should only take you 10 to 30 minutes, and you do that 5 times a week, okay? Frequency over time. All right, y'all, hopefully you enjoyed this. If you did, y'all know what to do. Make sure you subscribe if you are an online coach and you wanna make sales simple. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.